It was 3 wins in a row. The Sunday Express back page, they highlight the fact that it's finally happened for Manchester United, and maybe there is a bit of momentum there. I just want to ask you, John, about the recruitment, because that, above anything else, has come under huge criticism of late at Manchester United. And Riyadh touched on it there. In Cunha, in Mbeumo, do they have now the foundation of something special and maybe something that they can look forward to and think, we've got some players here now that we can hang our hats on?
You're not going to mention Šeško then? No, look, but, I think that there was an amazing stat, wasn't there, in the first, 10 or 15 minutes where he hadn't touched the ball. I mean, it was remarkable, Šeško. But then in the game, as it drew on, he was involved in goals, he's involved in setting up, and basically, I did think he grew into it. So I think that front three, I think, has got the basis of something there to build on and to work with, really. But the one that really catches my eye, and I've always been a Bruno fan, so please don't get me wrong, I'm not sort of kind of knocking him in any way, but Cunha, what a player. I love that. There's a brilliant picture, I think, isn't there? That one's on the back of the Express there, but then, the Observer used it so well, on the sort of the front of theirs. And he just looks made for Old Trafford. I love it. I love the way that he's embraced the shirt number, the 10. He just looks made for it. There's a bit of devilment there. He's so skillful. He's so talented. He just looks as if... We spent a few weeks in the summer, didn't we, discussing why on earth did players like Bruno and Cunha want to go to Old Trafford and Manchester United over other numerous offers that they undoubtedly had. Well, I thought last night showed exactly why. Because Old Trafford is still the theatre of dreams, and they have only got things to dream about at the moment, because it is only 3 wins. But when they were in the groove then, when Bruno smashes it into the top corner for the 4th goal, and then also when Cunha owns the pitch in various points of the game yesterday, I thought he was outstanding, by the way, also at Anfield last Sunday. Honestly, there is a Manchester United legend in the making. He's an exceptional footballer who will only get better and better and better. And I love the way that he's ready-made for the Premier League. I love the way that he's ready-made for Manchester United. They have signed a great player. I don't think we should doubt what they've done up top, but they've left themselves hopelessly unbalanced in midfield. And so they've kind of done these, 3 wins on the bounce without too much of a midfield, really. Casemiro did well again yesterday, bearing in mind the base that he's coming from. But they're crying out for a kind of central midfielder, really, to anchor that team, and then also to make the defence more solid, to kind of run forward from midfield, to give them more options and link between the strikers. So they've gone all in on the strikers, but my word, they've signed a belter in.
But isn't this the United problem, though? We're saying that because that issue with central midfield, we've seen it for about 4 windows now, and they go out and buy all of the toys, and they don't go and put it in the right position. So we can get incredibly excited about 3 wins in a row, but we can still look at it and say... Sometimes transfers are about timing, aren't they?
Yeah. Because if Cunha and Mbeumo become available at that time, and the budget may have to go on those players because he's pinpointed these players as the players to take them forward, sometimes it is a longer process. And I think most United fans have accepted that this is not a 1 or 2 window fix.
No, of course you're right on that. When the player comes available at the right time, you take him. But we're all still looking at that team and saying, right, where's United's weakness? Well, it's right there in the middle of the pitch. Yeah. They haven't fixed that. So I'm not saying that it's a castle built on sand, but I'm kind of saying it's a castle built on sand. And at the same time, we're looking at Casemiro. He's gone and had a good game yesterday, and he's 33, and he's also costing about 375 grand a week. And very, very rarely is there a week where you turn around and say, that's really good value for money. Thanks for doing that. They need to plug a hole in that position. They need to do it badly. Now, look, obviously, I'm sort of playing the part of the miserable person here, which...
You do it quite well, Riyadh, if you don't mind me saying.
Thank you very much, John. But I do look at that, and I think, you know what, if there is going to be another face plant into the wall, I don't feel too cavalier in predicting that there will be. I think we can trace which part of the pitch it's going to come to. So I'd look at it and sort of, be inclined to temper a little bit of excitement.
In the Sunday Telegraph, Mike McGrath, you were talking about what United can do, and before these 3 wins, it seemed to be week by week, Amorim's in crisis or he's turned the corner, and it didn't feel sustainable. He says, look, Amorim certainly eased the pressure over the past 3 weeks. Before this run of wins started, there was talk of him being a bad loss away from the sack. Now United are looking towards the European places again, possibly the Champions League slots. What does success look like for Ruben Amorim and Manchester United this season, and has that changed in the past 3 weeks?
I think on the basis of where they finished last season, anywhere in the European conversation is going to be a huge transformation. I think we've done this now for 12 years where we reflex back to what United should be. What is Manchester United in 2025? Well, it's not a team getting outplayed by a fairly dismal Tottenham side in the Europa League final. It's not a side that's finishing in the bottom quarter of the table. So we know that's the starting point for this conversation, and clearly there has been progress made. But I think anyone who even looks at United and says, sort of top 7 or top 8 would be a good fit, it's absolute nonsense. It's still Man United, and it's still a club that's going out spending hundreds of millions every window. So you've got what would be a good season. Look, top 4 would be exceptional. I'd also say there's no chance of it happening. I'd say top 6. They've had a very good season, but again, it's watching and seeing if it sticks. It's seeing how long they can string it together. As I said earlier, they've got actually quite a kind run of fixtures coming up. See what they do with a little bit of momentum, a little bit of confidence. Now that the pressure's off Amorim for the time being, this could be a time when he's really able to put a stamp on this side, because so far I've not seen it from him at all.
John, you mentioned before about the recruitment, and maybe they've left out the main areas that they needed to improve on in that midfield. In your paper in the Sunday Mirror, it says final bell. Amorim eye shock move for Bellingham, not Jude, but Jobe from Borussia Dortmund. Could he be a potential answer for United's perceived midfield problems?
Well, he's certainly an exceptional player, and it's worth pointing out that actually he's had a much better midweek, in the Champions League, where he started and did well. So I think he's maybe one that should stay, I think, at Dortmund, and basically because I think that has been such a good learning platform for many a player, not just his brother as well, but he's a good player there. But I really feel as if United can get to next summer in fairly good shape, and should I admit here that I actually tipped them for top 4? That looks a little bit foolhardy, but who's laughing now? They're in the top 4, and would you believe it? I mean, look at the table; they're above Liverpool. I mean, it's incredible how football changes, and so it's all about results and momentum. But I do think if they can somehow get themselves into European places, get the budget going again, and then find themselves 2 outstanding midfield players to kind of complement that squad, to bolster that squad and really build on what they have, then I really feel as if the United have got something to build with there. I've been absolutely open about this. I don't like Amorim and his inflexibility about the system, but if he's absolutely wedded to that system, and he clearly is, the one thing he has to have are midfield reinforcements in the next 2 windows. So I do think he's right to sort of target that. I'm sure that United will be one of the many clubs queuing up for Elliot Anderson, who's obviously catching a lot of attention at the moment. But if they can do that, then I think that United can go places. I don't mind them signing strikers and forwards, unlike Riyadh and Killjoy, because basically, why do we watch football? We watch football to be entertained. We watch football for great players, for excitement and for glory, and for players that will get you off your feet, off your seat really, and onto your feet really. I think it's great, and I love Cunha. I think Cunha is the epitome of that, and I think that Bruno, is a really talented player as well. If they can get Sesko firing as well, and I think there is potential there, I really do, then I think United, have got still a platform to build and go places this season. I really do.
Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandes could depart Old Trafford at the end of this season for a cut-price fee, with a supposed secret release clause offering him an escape. The Portuguese midfielder has long been linked with a move away from the Red Devils, and this summer had been the target of a series of unsuccessful approaches by clubs in the Saudi Pro League. With United continuing to struggle for consistency in the Premier League this season, Fernandes may start to believe he is better off seeing out the latter end of his career elsewhere, and he could be presented that opportunity via a release clause. According to The Sun, from next summer, Fernandes can be bought for just £57 million, $75.9 million, €65.6 million, by clubs outside of England. The suggested fee is remarkably lower than what some Saudi clubs were floating United's way earlier this year, and could prove to be quite the coup for a side looking to bring in the excellent, albeit ageing, midfielder. The Red Devils will be desperate to keep their captain, who despite his mixed start to the season, is still one of their most important players. Finding a replacement who can produce for Ruben Amorim's side immediately for a similar fee to the release clause may prove a very difficult task for United's scouting department. Fernandes turned down a move away from Manchester last summer, choosing to remain at the struggling Red Devils. He explained that, because he loves the club and wants it to be successful, he never wanted to depart Old Trafford for Saudi Arabia. Fernandes previously quashed the idea that he turned the lucrative move to the Middle East down because he wanted to remain in contention for Portugal's World Cup squad, but he did leave the door open to a move away. "I didn't close the door on moving to Saudi Arabia because of the World Cup. That was never in my mind. I wanted to stay at Manchester United, and the club wanted me to stay. That's all there is to it," he explained. Fernandes was speaking ahead of Portugal's win over Ireland 2 weeks ago and hinted that his time at Old Trafford could come to an end soon. He said, "I like to enjoy the moment, and the most important thing for me now is representing the national team," he said. "It's a source of enormous pride to be able to play, and I still don't know if I'll play, let alone if I'll leave Manchester United in a year." After 2 consecutive wins in the Premier League for the first time under Amorim, Fernandes and his teammates will be determined to keep their momentum going. The Red Devils followed up their 2-0 victory over Sunderland at home with a surprise 2-1 victory away at Anfield last weekend to fire them back up the table. With 13 points from 8 games, United sit in 9th place, but just 3 points off second-placed Manchester City. It marks quite the turnaround for Amorim's side, who looked in crisis after a disappointing loss to Brentford at the end of last month. Despite their uptick in performance levels, Fernandes is still not playing his best football in a Manchester United shirt. The captain has had to take on a deeper role to accommodate the new flashy attacking signings and has seen his output drop. United will have to overcome bogey team Brighton if they are to keep their winning streak going. The Red Devils have a shocking record against their upcoming opponents, losing 6 of their last 7 games in the Premier League against the Seagulls. Brighton are also just 1 point behind Amorim's men and can climb into the European qualification spots with a win. They will be hopeful that former United striker Danny Welbeck can also add to his recent goal-scoring form.